From Washington, the McLaughlin Group, the American original. For over 2 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk.
As the world grows smaller, the ifs are now bigger than ever. If retirement savings can't keep pace with longer lives, if inflation sends the cost of employee benefits higher. For over 135 years, MetLife has provided insurance guarantees for life's many ifs. We have the experience, global resources, and vision to provide financial certainties for an uncertain world. No wonder 70 million customers around the world count on us. After all, we are MetLife.
We've provided a platform for success for some of the most respected companies in the country. We fueled their growth with a highly educated workforce and a can-do, pro-business attitude. Just ask our newest business partner, Toyota. Visit Mississippi.org to see what we can do for you.
Issue 1, U.S. President number 44.
For even as we celebrate tonight, we know the challenges that tomorrow will bring are the greatest of our lifetime. 2 wars, a planet in peril, the worst financial crisis in a century.
A minefield of economic, international, and domestic issue faces President-elect Obama. But his team is in place and ready. State, Clinton. Defense, Gates. Treasury, Geithner. Justice, Holder. Homeland Security, Napolitano. Energy, Chu. Health and Human Services, Daschle. Education, Duncan. Agriculture, Vilsack. Labor, Solis. Transportation, LaHood. Interior, Salazar. Veterans, Shinseki. National Intelligence Director, Blair. CIA, Panetta. National Security Advisor, Jones. UN Ambassador, Rice. EPA, Jackson. OMB, Office of Management and Budget. Orzag, Commerce. Formerly Richardson, currently vacant. The Obama inner circle is made up of mostly D.C. insiders, but not Geithner. He's a Wall Street insider. Many Clintonistas, and is politically centrist, many even right-leaning. In Obama's transition, November 4 to January 18, that's fewer than 80 days, the president-elect, miraculously, vetted and filled 25 top posts. That averages to about 1 post every 3 days.
Question, what strikes you as noteworthy about this team, Pat Buchanan?
John, I think the very fact that Barack Obama came in and did what he said he was going to do. He created what inside the Democratic Party is basically a center-right, moderate coalition. He brought in all the stars in the party or offered them jobs. Richardson, of course, was lost. And I think, John, he is an awful lot of people are very impressed with the way he's conducted himself in the transition, the team he's put together, the weight of the team and its experience. And I think they're very, very hopeful. John, I haven't seen a transition like this until since the generational transition from Eisenhower to Kennedy, where everybody said, of course, those were good days for everybody, 1960, but everybody was looking forward with great hope and anticipation, although I think there's tremendous apprehension as to whether Barack Obama and his administration can handle what's on the plate.
Helena.
Well, what strikes me is that for a candidate who campaigned on change, there's an awful lot of continuity in this cabinet. The A-list players, Clinton, Gates, Geithner, are all people who've been around, and we pretty much know what they think. What we suspect, however, is that they are the ones who will implement the vision that Obama sets down, and in fact may give him some political cover to go a little more to the left than their positions would suggest. I think the biggest area of change is in the environment. I think he really does have people positioned to seriously confront climate change. And with Tom Daschle at Health and Human Services with a dual position in the White House, I think there's going to be a real serious push for health care reform, if not an entire overhaul. So I think it's a cabinet that everybody is pretty much applauding.
Okay, Obama's transition hiccups.
Paid to play stink bomb. Former incoming Commerce Secretary Bill Richardson, the subject of a grand jury investigation surrounding potential corruption charges. Nomination withdrawn. Item. Pay to play stink bomb number 2. Incoming Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood. He allegedly earmarked $9 million in congressional monies to campaign donors for their pet projects last year. Confirmation hearing next week. Item. $34,000 snafu. Incoming Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner failed to pay $34,000 in his own payroll taxes to the IRS between 01 and 04 and had a maid working for him illegally. Confirmation hearing next week. Item. Warren Commission. The Tuesday invocation of Rick Warren, evangelical pastor, saddleback debate moderator, the same-sex marriage foe, not foe of the preference or status, irks the gay community. Item. And here's to you, Bishop Robinson. Obama invited Episcopal Bishop V. Gene Robinson, the openly gay Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of New Hampshire, to offer the invocation at the inaugural kickoff at the Lincoln Memorial. With gays, theoretically, Robinson neutralizes Warren. Item. The Burris supremacy. Roland Burris has gained his Senate seat despite Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, who some say now has egg on his face. Burris is connected to Obama through incoming Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel, who apparently supplied names of Obama's Senate seat replacement to Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, arrested on federal corruption charges. On Thursday, Reid welcomed Burris into the chamber. Obama echoed Reid's views throughout this without criticizing Burris.
Question, have these transition hiccups individually or collectively taken the bloom off Obama's November election rose?
You know what? If Barack Obama didn't have so much goodwill entering the presidency, these wouldn't just be hiccups. These would be tornadoes. Look at what happened to Bill Clinton in his transition. Zoe Baird, Kimba Wood, disqualified for some of the same things plaguing some of Obama's cabinet choices. Listen, I heard Pat singing the glories of this transition, but I think we're watching two different transitions. You got Leon Panetta going into the CIA, who has no experience whatsoever in intelligence. Eric Holder going to be the Attorney General, who in many cases, and this is not just Republicans have problems with him, but Democrats do. The pardons of the FALN terrorists, the pardons of Mark Rich, and so on. And then you've got Geithner. I mean, Timothy Geithner, we're about to put Willie Nelson in charge of running the IRS, a guy who doesn't pay his taxes as Treasury Secretary. If this had been John McCain and his Treasury Secretary had been put up and it was found out that he didn't pay his taxes, Eleanor would be possessed by the devil. There are so many people who are willing, including Republicans.
Eleanor's already possessed by the devil.
Yes, I know.
The liberal devil.
That's right.
Do you think Obama is beginning to look like an ordinary politician?
I'm sorry, I thought I was tuned into Fox News for a moment there. No, I think he doesn't look ordinary at all. You kind of lost me, Monica, after you said that Obama's built up this extraordinary goodwill. That part is true. no question about it.
It is true.
And it has helped to insulate him.
To get a lot of these choices through.
It has helped insulate him from a lot of these other controversies. I think, though, that what strikes me, though, about these cabinet picks, John, is how non-ideological they are. Hello. I mean, this is what's been dividing the country now for so long. A lot of Barack Obama's popularity on both sides of the aisle has come from the fact that he's gone for competence rather than ideology, and that's just showing itself.
That's part of the split. But would you not concur that there is a real split in the Democratic Party? And this is why Obama goes with the tried and the true.
I'm shocked. A split Democratic Party, but they're not.
If he doesn't have unity in the Democratic Party, how can he possibly face these somewhat insurmountable problems?
Reports of Democratic disunity in this case have been wildly exaggerated.
Right on.
There's been some pundit complaints, Huffington Post, other places. But if you ask them, are you still with the guy? Oh yeah.
That's
true.
If you read Nation magazine, which leans left, they have problems, but they're with him. They're with him on the expectation of big money from the government.
John, but you're right. But let me tell you something. Once you start making decisions, let's take foreign policy. What do you do about Gaza? You're going to tell the Israelis to get out of Gaza? Are you going to attack Iran? You're going to double the number of American troops in Afghanistan? You're going to get out of Iraq? Or you're going to have to stay? Once the decisions come down, That's when the divisions come again. But I will say this, he has made a tremendous effort, including that little visit over with George Will and his friends, to reach out or at least say, look, you all are critics, you're not enemies. We're social friends and political enemies.
Yeah, you're right,
Colin.
You weren't there.
Neither was
well,
I.
He's not going that far.
Right,
he's not going that far out, John.
He's made enemies of everybody he didn't invite.
Afraid of you. Obama's afraid of you.
And the problems with these cabinet members, they really are pretty minimal. And Eric Holder, all he had to say was waterboarding is torture, and he bought himself a lot of goodwill in the U.S. Senate. Now, Geithner, I must say, what bothers me, they're not paying the taxes. All right, you could argue it's complicated and so forth. But taking as a deduction his kids' overnight camping.
Sleepaway camp.
Sleepaway camping.
Yeah.
Suggests a guy who's kind of, the rich, they're always such cheapskates. I think it's minimal, and I think, the proof of the pudding will be in how he does his job.
She mentioned Guantanamo. Again, that's another one. Once you make a decision, what are you going to do with these 260 nutballs down there?
You're
going to let them go?
Pat. What is this? What is this? What are you saying?
What I'm saying, another decision he's going to have to make, and he said he's going to close Guantanamo. Very nice, no waterboarding. You wait till a Mumbai happens on American territory.
But you know what?
I blame it on the closing of Guantanamo.
But here is the political genius of Obama. He gave a wide-ranging, long interview to the Washington Post this week, and buried in it was, he said, well, he is looking forward to closing Guantanamo Bay by the end of his first term. Not first month or first year, first term. Now, how is the left going to react if, in fact, he goes 4 years before he closes Guantanamo Bay?
We know that the proudest boast of George Bush and his term is that there has been no major terrorist attack on any city, which we're going to get into in a minute.
In the U.S.
Now, if there is an attack in this term of this president, it will, of course, invite invidious comparison.
Leon Panetta will be on the spot.
Well, not only that, but it will invite in comparison to the attack-free Bush administration for 7 years, correct?
Yeah, but the 9/11 happened on the Bush watch. Let's not forget that. He conveniently skitters over that.
Yes, but the whole setup.
But the planning of it was years before. During the Clinton administration. Okay, exit question. Rate Obama's transition team as compared to his political campaign. Is it A, equally brilliant as last November the 4th was? Slightly less brilliant? C, significantly worse. D, dramatically worse. E, other.
Maybe for the last time, I'm going to give him an A, John. It's an excellent.
What about Geithner?
He's got problems. So he had problems in his campaign. He made mistakes there. But it was a hugely successful campaign and a very successful transition. No matter what you say, the goodwill. There's goodwill all over the place.
Was it a miracle that he got 25 posts filled? That's the ones we recognize, and some others.
So did Nixon, and he probably did it faster.
You think so?
Sure. We remember December 10th, we had all cabinet officers.
Where were you operating then? Out of the hotel in New York?
We think we'd moved down to D.C. by then, John.
Well, he tends to get compared to previous Democratic presidents, and it's much smoother than the Clinton or the Carter transitions. And overall, these are excellent picks. I give him an A as well.
Listen, Barack Obama ran on his judgment because he didn't have a whole lot else to run on. And yet we take a look, and so many of these cabinet picks have serious problems. Hillary Clinton is going to get through, but she's up to her eyeballs in conflicts of interest. Eric Holder, we talked about. Geithner, we talked about. Leon Panetta, we talked about. There are a lot of these picks that are problematic, and those chickens eventually might come home.
I'm glad somebody is with the 27% of the country that supports George Bush and doesn't think this president is doing well.
There are a lot of Democrats who have problems with these choices
The sainted Hillary will sail through.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't say otherwise.
It's an A. I mean, there were some glitches here and there, but considering as how he got an early start on this and he did it quite methodically, it's quite remarkable. There's as few glitches as there are.
Right. He sees the limits of political power, and he recognizes them the way Abraham Lincoln did. And that means that you don't make the perfect the enemy of the good.
Right.
And he wants unity in the Democratic Party because he wants all the backing he can get. What did you rate him as? What did you rate the transition as?
Oh, I said worse than he ran his campaign. I think he ran his campaign
than
better
he's running
the transition. Oh, you want me to letter grade it? I would give it a C+.
C+. C+. The answer is A. Issue 2, Bush Unbound.
I thought long and hard about Katrina. People said, well, the federal response was slow. Don't tell me the federal response was slow when there was 30,000 people pulled off roofs right after the storm passed.
President Bush held his last press conference this week,
I remember going to see
and he was forthright, even about errors in his own judgment.
Clearly putting a mission accomplished on an aircraft carrier was a mistake. I believe that running the Social Security idea right after the 2004 elections was a mistake.
He acknowledged unintended consequences and bad ones, which he called disappointment.
Abu Ghraib obviously was a huge disappointment during the presidency. Not having weapons of mass destruction was a significant disappointment. I don't know if you want to call those mistakes or not, but things didn't go according to plan, let's put it that way.
In a TV address on Thursday night, the final sayonara.
I have been blessed to represent this nation we love, and I will always be honored to carry a title that means more to me than any other: citizen of the United States of America.
Question. There have been no major terrorist attacks on U.S. soil since 9/11, but there have been other major attacks: London, Madrid, Bali, Istanbul, Moscow, Casablanca, Saudi Arabia, Beslan in Russia, and other cities. So, does 7 years of no terrorist attack status in the U.S. eclipse and void any and all shortcomings, real or alleged, of the Bush-Cheney administration? Pat?
No, it does not. But it is a tremendous achievement. All of us after September 11 expected, we talked about, we said we shouldn't talk about where they're going to hit. They never hit. I think they not only stopped some, my guess is the tremendous job that a lot of American agencies have done, Defense Intelligence, CIA, FBI, Secret Service, these guys have probably deterred Al-Qaeda from saying, just look, we can't handle it. However, these other things suggest that Bush has a point when he says you do have a global terrorist network and that you've got to be secure and we've got to work together, but you can't take that away from George Bush.
You think Obama, and the point that you made that buried in that Washington Post article, is that he's not going to take those prisoners out of Guantanamo and not shut it down until what, the end of his first year?
Well, he's saying he's going to shut it down, but he's going to be careful with what he does with the people who are there. This is a man who's going to keep, like Lincoln, he's going to keep the progressive goal in mind, but he's going to move prudently, judiciously. That's the way he's behaved through his campaign.
You think he's got terrorism?
The transition. And look, he has, I'm sure Barack Obama has no illusions about the enemies out there that want to get us. The difference is, how do you confront those enemies? And the President Bush is asking us to believe that whatever he's done in compromising civil liberties, in possibly sanctioning waterboarding, has all been done to avoid these attacks. And if he hadn't done it, we would have been attacked. It is an argument that is inherently untestable. He can't prove it. We can't refute it. So I'll give it to him. And I'm just glad now.
Do you think, do you not think that in all of the conversation and publicity attaching to Obama, there has been lost the central question, the central objective, the central concern of the President of the United States about terrorism?
No, there hasn't. I think the arguments have been on the margins, like waterboarding, Guantanamo, specific things like torture with Bush, and holding without trial. Well, Obama and Eric Holder agree that these people in Guantanamo ought to have trials. They shouldn't be kept out there as long as they have been.
You think
and that doesn't mean that even if we have another terrorist attack, that's the reason.
If you take a listing of the current polling on issues that Americans are concerned about, terrorism is not where it used to be. Terrorism comes in about 9th or 10th or 11th.
Right. That's the price of success. The price of success at keeping
strikes away. Should it be borne out by Obama that his principal concern is to keep this country safe? Have you heard that from Obama?
Well, listen, I'm not downgrading Obama's commitment to keeping us safe. He understands what the role of commander-in-chief is. The challenge for him is that whether or not you can prove or disprove that all of the things that Bush put into place over the last 7.5 years that have kept us safe, whether it's Guantanamo, rendition, aggressive interrogation, waterboarding, which we only did 3 times, and in each one of those cases produced intel that saved American lives, or the FISA wiretaps, which this week it was ruled by a federal appeals court, a secret court, that those federal wiretaps, the warrantless wiretaps, were legal, and Bush acted constitutionally. So the challenge for Obama is whether or not he's going to keep all of those things in place. If he does not, and we are hit again, he is finished.
If he hit again, John, let me tell you, this country in 10 seconds will go back to Jack Bauer rules. If we are hit hard, they say, protect us and do what you have to do.
The Democratic left is concerned about 3 issues. One of them is amnesty. They want amnesty for the 12 million illegals in the United States. You know that that backs in to the terrorist question.
You know, John McCain, you know, they're having this big function for John McCain. Obama is on Monday night. John McCain, my prediction is, will lead Obama's amnesty plan for the 12 to 20 million illegal aliens.
It's a pathway to citizenship.
Automatic amnesty?
No, they'll have it all. You got to go back for a week and do all this. But it's amnesty.
Well, you're not just in favor of a path to citizenship, are you?
I am just in favor of a path to citizenship.
You want them? What do you want them? All
I want the businesses prosecuted and they will go home.
Exit question, multiple choice. What is the most damaging to the Bush legacy? A, Bush's character. B, the Iraq War. C, the economy. D, Abu Ghraib and torture, or E, something else, Pat?
I think the Iraq War and Katrina broke the Bush presidency.
Oh.
The Iraq War taking us to war on false, trumped-up information, a needless war that has created a geopolitical situation in the Middle East, empowering Iran, that leaves us less safe.
Monica.
No, I think that because the surge which the president put into place, despite all of the arguments against it and the political ramifications against it, he did it, and Iraq seems to have gotten its sea legs at least somewhat. I think the economy is the one, the economy and the imposition of massive government intervention.
If you go back, you see his polls began to slide after Katrina. That undermined the whole notion of keeping us safe. He never recovered.
All of the above. They all constituted the cement kimono. Issue 3, Ode to Michelle.
Michelle, my belle, these are words that go together well. My Michelle, Michelle, my belle.
The following words are from interviews taken in May 1996, 13 years ago, for a book on American couples by photographer Mariana Cook at the Obama's home in Chicago's Hyde Park. They are published in this week's New Yorker magazine and are lightly truncated here. This is Barack talking about Michelle. Michelle is a tremendously strong person and has a very strong sense of herself and who she is and where she comes from. But I also think in her eyes you can see a trace of vulnerability that most people don't know. Because when she's walking through the world, she is this tall, beautiful, confident woman. There is a part of her that is vulnerable and young and sometimes frightened. And I think seeing both of those things is what attracted me to her. And then what sustains our relationship is I'm extremely happy with her. And part of it has to do with the fact that she is at once completely familiar to me, so that I can be myself, and she knows me very well, and I trust her completely, but at the same time, she is also a complete mystery to me in some ways. And there are times when we are lying in bed, and I look over and sort of have a start, because I realize here is this other person who is separate and different, and has different memories and backgrounds and thoughts and feelings. It's that tension between familiarity and mystery that makes for something strong, because even as you build a life of trust and comfort and mutual support, you retain some sense of surprise or wonder about the other person.
Question, what kind of First Lady will Michelle Obama be? Clarence Page.
I think she will be a conventional first lady in many ways, but also one who cares a lot about issues like education, family, health care. But she's not going to be a co-president. I think she's comfortable.
She's a lawyer.
Oh, you know, so was Hillary Clinton, and she learned the co-president approach didn't go over that well with the public. The public really wants to see a touch of the traditional, which I think she carries very well.
Hostess and charity.
Oh, sure, she'll do all that. But well, she's worked in charities in the past.
Not a full partner?
In the past.
Not a full partner?
Well, not a legislative partner, so to speak, or executive partner, because we don't elect first ladies for that purpose.
Who would you see, Pat, or Monica, or Eleanor, as her being similar to in previous first ladies?
I think that what she ought to model herself on is an outstanding first lady in Laura Bush, who was a mother and who was a wife, and at the same time supportive. And at the same time, she was out there in these libraries.
Michelle is no Laura Bush.
What's
in what way?
What do you mean? Who are you
well, I
faulting,
think she's
Laura
going to be. I think she's going to get it. Laura Bush, in the interview that she gave with Larry King, made it very clear that she was not involved in public policy.
Well, I don't think Michelle is going to be getting involved in that. I think she's going to, as Laura Bush did a lot of things related to public policy, but she wasn't involved in any decision-making process.
Laura Bush is a very nice person and a very gracious person, and she's done a lot in establishing a book festival in Washington. But
and literacy.
Yes, and literacy. But she never rocked the boat. I would hope that we will hear a little more from Michelle Obama. I think she has a lot of influence over her husband. From those words that you read, you can see how much he trusts her. He trusts her judgment. She will be in on everything. She's not going to be separately crafting a policy agenda. She will work with military families.
Does that sound like
Pat
Nixon?
Campaign.
No, Pat Nixon's very traditional.
No, Pat Nixon did not absent herself from
No, she went down to that Peruvian earthquake and everything, and she had some causes, but that's emerged a bit, and what it has emerged into is the Laura Bush role as opposed to the Hillary Clinton role.
Congratulations to Chesley and his crew. Awesome. Bye-bye.
As the world grows smaller, the ifs are now bigger than ever. If retirement savings can't keep pace with longer lives, if inflation sends the cost of employee benefits higher. For over 135 years, MetLife has provided insurance guarantees for life's many ifs. We have the experience, global resources, and vision to provide financial certainties for an uncertain world. No wonder 70 million customers around the world count on us. After all, we are MetLife.
We've provided a platform for success for some of the most respected companies in the country. We fueled their growth with a highly educated workforce and a can-do, pro-business attitude. Just ask our newest business partner, Toyota. Visit Mississippi.org to see what we can do for you.